Welcome friends to the Formula Engineering Classroom, and here we are starting our new lecture series on subject Theory of Machine. This is also known as TOM, and this subject is belongs to the mechanical engineering course, and it is very much important subject from the GATE and IES examination point of view. This lecture series will be helpful for the students who are preparing for the GATE and IES examination, and it is also helpful for the students who are preparing this subject for their university exams. Here I mentioned the syllabus, and this syllabus is completely according to the GATE and IES examination syllabus, and I will cover this whole syllabus in this lecture series. In this lecture series we also solve some numerical problems that they are asking in the GATE and IES examinations, and we will deal with some complicated problems so you can get better idea about this subject and about the topics. This subject is very much conceptual topic, and the problem they are asking in the GATE and IES examination are very much tricky, but by understanding the basic concept we can easily solve them. So according to weightage, this subject is carrying 7 to 8 marks in the GATE examination and 15 to 20 marks in the IES prelim examination. So you can see here this subject is very much important, and hope you will like this lecture series. So let's start. So we will start this lecture series by the topic machines and mechanisms. And when we are saying this is actually this is machine, not this is not mechanics, this is machine and mechanisms. So we'll start our topic from this topic. Okay. So in this first lecture of theory of machine, we'll talk about the mechanisms and machines. So before starting anything, we have to ask ourselves what is a machine. So obviously you can answer according to the Three Idiots movie, that is machine is anything which can reduce the human effort, and obviously that is true. But here we have to define a precise definition of a machine. So here I have two definitions. So first definition is a machine is a tool containing one or more parts that uses energy to perform an intended action. Obviously, machines are usually powered by chemical, thermal, electrical means and are often motorized. So this is our first definition. So from this definition we can understand there are few things, that is it's a containing one or more parts, taking energy, something, converting something to other types of motion. So here I'm using a picture of a catapult. This is a war machine. So in this picture you can see here, that is this machine is containing some parts like this gear, this arm, these vertical arms, these threads and all these things. So from here we can say that there is when this arm, this gear will rotate about its own axis, then this arm will rise and it will throw a stone, and obviously this gear will rotate due to the elastic energy stored in these strings and in these vertical arms. Let take a look to our second definition. Here we are defining, that is if a number of bodies are assembled in such a way that the motion of one can cause constraint, we have to define this word particularly, cause constraint and predictable motion, this is also useful word, predictable motion to others, it is known as mechanism. So means first we have to define the definition of mechanism. So again I'm repeating this one. If number of bodies are assembled in such a way that motion of one cause constraint and predictable motion to others, it is known as mechanism. So this picture is also showing a mechanism here. In this case this is assembled, and the elastic energy stored in this string, when it is going to be unwrapped over this thing, in that case the gear will rotate, and definitely the predictable motion of this arm is rising and it will throw the stone. Now again, a mechanism transmits and modifies the motion. Now, what is the meaning of this thing? So let's suppose if we are providing an input that is oscillatory, but the mechanism maybe convert that oscillatory motion to the other type of motion like rotary motion. So means it will transmit and modify the motion. Now a machine is a mechanism or combination of mechanism which apart from imparting definite motion to the part also transmit and modifies the available mechanical energy into some kind of desired work. So let's suppose this catapult is a machine. So in this case, this machine is the combination of a mechanisms, different type of mechanism here, or maybe this is a simple mechanism or single mechanism. So this will definitely transmit and modified the available mechanical energy, or that in this case, this is the elastic energy of string and this vertical arms to some kind of desired work or useful work. Obviously, the throwing stone is not a useful work, but this may be a desired work in case of war. So here we are defining a machine. So now to understanding more about the machine, we have to understand about the constraint and predictable motions. So obviously our target is converting some energy to our desired work, means our desired work is completely predictable. So means when you are trying to, or when you are simply switching on the button, in that case the fan will rotate. So rotation of fan is our desired work. So this is a machine. And what is the sense of constraint? Constraint means restricted system, means we need that action for particular input. So this is the constraint. So here we are defining the constraint motion in three different categories. We are defining the constraint motion in three different motions. So first I am defining this one, completely constrained motion. This is completely constrained motion. My handwriting is not good here, but there is no problem. So first we are defining completely constrained motion. So what is completely constrained motion? So we can define when the motion between two elements of a pair is in definite direction irrespective of the direction of force applied, it is known as completely constrained motion. So obviously this language is a little bit complicated, so let's understand this one. So let here I'm taking an example. And in this case I'm saying this is some box, and let here there is a hole, and in this hole there is a rod passing through this one. Okay, and this is going on over here, and this is going out here. So this bar can slide easily inside this box in this slot. So when I'm defining completely constant motion, I told you that is when the motion between two element of a pair. So here there are two elements. First one is the box, second is this bar. So the motion between these two elements, they are forming a pair, is in definite direction. Definite means definitely in this case this can only slide over here. This is the definite motion irrespective of the direction of applied force, means it doesn't matter in which direction you are applying the force. Anytime or every time there is only one motion of this rod or bar, that is, it is simply sliding in this one. Means if I'm applying a force, if in this direction, this will slide. If I'm applying a force on this one at some angle, that I'm saying theta, this will also slide. So it doesn't matter in which direction we are applying the force. In this case, the bar only slide in this slot. So this type of motion is defined as completely constrained. Okay. Now here we can take one more case for the completely constrained motion. So let's suppose there is another box here. We are defining another box is here. Just a minute. So obviously this is solid box. We are defining this is a box. This is a solid body, and in this solid body there is a circular hole over here. This is going through out this one solid body, and in this hole, let there is a circular shaft is passing through this one. There is some circular shaft over here that is passing through here, and this is going over here and up to that I'm saying this point. Okay, now this over here I'm applying some collars, that are the restrictions. Also there is collar. So due to these collars, this circular shaft can't slide in the circular hole because there are restrictions here. So means in this case this circular shaft can only rotate. So in this case, doesn't matter in which direction we are applying the force, the shaft can only rotate, it can't slide. So this is also a case of completely constrained motion. Now second, we are defining incompletely constrained motion. We are defining incompletely constrained motion. So what is incompletely constrained motion? So we can say that when the motion between two elements of a pair is possible in more than one direction and depend upon the direction of force applied, then it is defined as incompletely constrained motion. So again, let's take example here, and I'm taking this one. So again, there is a solid bar here, and let in this solid bar again there is a circular hole here, and there is circular shaft is passing through this one, and this is passing through over here and going out this side. But now in this case there is no collars over here, there is no collars over here. So when there is no collars, in that case this shaft can rotate in this circular groove here, and also it can slide. So both the motions are possible in this pairing. This is 1, this is 2, so they are forming a pair here. So in this pairing, this rotation and sliding both are possible. So it's completely depending, means if we are applying a force in this direction, the shaft will slide, and if we are applying a force over here, in that case the shaft will rotate. So in this case the motion is completely depending on the direction of applied force, and in the previous case it was independent from the direction of applied force. So means if the motion is completely depending on the application of force and the motion is possible more than one direction, then that is defined as incompletely constrained motion. Okay, now the third category we are defining here is successfully constrained motion. successfully constrained motion. So what is successfully constrained motion? So we can understand like that when the motion between two elements of a pair is possible in more than one direction but is made to have motion only in one direction by using some external means, then it is defined as successfully constrained motion. So what is the sense of this term? So let's suppose here I'm taking a case of footstep bearing. I'm taking case of footstep bearing. Okay, and in this case the frame that over here I'm saying, and here there is shaft. Now this shaft can rotate in this pairing, and also it can move up and down in this pairing, but that by applying some load over this one, I am restricting the up and down motion of this shaft. So in that case this can only rotate in this pairing. So this type of motion is defined as successfully constrained motion. Means the motion of the pairing or the elements of a pair is possible more than one direction, but by some external means we are restricting that motion, and the only motion available is one. So in that case we can define that motion will be successfully constrained motion. Okay, so after understanding the concept of constrained motion, we have to understand about the rigid and resistant bodies. So we have to understand rigid and resistant bodies. Okay, so what is a rigid body? So we can provide a definition. A body is said to be rigid if under the action of forces is does not suffer any distortion or the distance between any 2 points on it remains constant. So what is the sense of this term? So here we can define that if we are saying this is some body and let these are the 2 points on this body, and let this is the distance between these 2 points. Now if we are applying some forces on this body, then under the action of these forces this body doesn't suffer and there is no change in distance between these 2 points. So this will behave like a rigid body. So we can say that this is a rigid body if the distance between these 2 points are not going to be changed here. So this is rigid body. Rigid. Okay, so what is resistant body? So a resistant body, for a resistant body we can provide a definition. Resistant body is which are rigid for the purpose they have to serve. Means actually there are so many semi-rigid bodies. Means let take an example. That if you are taking an example of a belt. So actually this belt is semi-rigid body. Obviously when we apply some force over here, in that case they change in the shape or in the shape of the belt. So this is not the rigid body, but this is semi-rigid body. But when we apply this belt on the pulley system, or that I'm applying the belt over these two pulleys, and obviously in this case the belt is in tension. So this belt is in tension. So under this service, this belt is behaving like a rigid body. Obviously this is in tension, and under these forces the distance between these 2 points are not going to be changed here. So this is not actually rigid body, this is semi-rigid body, but under the surface it is behaving like a rigid body. So this type of bodies are defined as resistant bodies. Okay, you can take one more example, that is there is a hydraulic fluid in the hydraulic system. So initially obviously we know there is a fluid is obviously can change the distance between 2 points, but when it's flowing in a compressed hydraulic system, when it's compressed hydraulic system, that if I'm closing this one here and let there's a piston over here and let there's a wall here or there's some opening and there's some wall here, so this liquid is in compressed state. So in this case this is behaving like a rigid body, this is highly compressed liquid here. So in this case obviously actually this liquid is not a rigid body, but under this surface it is behaving like a rigid body. Okay, now we need all these information, that is constant motion, rigid and resistance bodies. We have to discuss these topics before going to the depth of this subject. There are few more, and the next one is the important one. We are defining the next one is link. So what is link? So to define the link, we can say that there is obviously a mechanism is made of a number of resistant bodies, out of which some may have motion related to others. Means obviously you all know the 4-bar mechanism. So let I'm taking the example of 4-bar mechanism here. This is the 4-bar mechanism we are saying, and that I'm fixing this one. So this mechanism is found by number of resistant bodies. I'm saying resistant, not rigid bodies, because I'm saying these bodies are not distorting or not going to change in shape, or they are not going to deform under the action of the forces under the surface. Okay, so there are number of bodies. So here first one we consider this is the frame, second there is one link here, third is this one, fourth resistant body is this one. So when we are plotting the definition of link, so these individual resistant bodies are termed as link, and they are said to be linked because in this case these resistant bodies have relative motion to each other. Obviously in this case 1 and 2 has relative motion because there is a turning pair here, so it can easily rotate about this one, and there is also turning pair here, so the motion between the 2 and 3 is also there, and there is also relative motion between the body 3 and 4 because there is also turning pair, and similarly also there is relative motion between the 1 and 4 because also there is turning pair. Okay, so when we are providing the definition of link, in that case we are saying that is link is nothing, it's simply resistant body, or it may be a combination of resistant body with rigidly fixed links, also rigidly fixed joints, and having relative motion to other bodies. So why I'm saying it is a resistant body and group of resistant body, so we can say here this is a simple resistant body, but let's suppose I have three resistant bodies, that one is this one, second is this one, and third is this one. Okay, so there are three resistant bodies, one, two, three, and these connections are the permanent connections. So obviously in this case 1 and 2 have no relative motion to each other, 2 and 3 have no relative motion to each other, and 1 and 3 have no relative motion to each other. So in this case this group of resistant body will also behave an individual link, like in 4-bar mechanism I can draw like this one. Okay, so here you can see here that if I'm saying 1 2 3, let this frame is 4, let this link is 5, let I'm saying this is 6 here. So obviously between 4 and 5 there is relative motion, and between 5 and this combination and group of resistant body there is some relative motion, but there is no relative motion between the 2 and 1, 2 and 3, and 1 and 3. So that's why we can say that there is a link is a resistant body or a group of resistant body with rigid joints have relative motion to other members or other links. Okay, so we are providing definition of link here. So in some textbook you can see here it like that, area is headed here. So you can imagine in that case this 1 2 3 is actually a plate, they are providing like that, In that case, this 1 2 3 is actually like a plate here. So this hole is termed as one link, and this one link have relative motion to other links. Okay, now so we can categorize the links here. So we can categorize the links according to the facility they are providing of pairing. So what is the meaning of this one? So let's suppose I have a link like that. This is a link here. So this link is providing two pairing here. One is here, another one is here. So when the link is providing two pairing, we are defining this one binary link. Binary link. So similarly, if some link is providing three pairing, so I'm saying this, there's a plate here like this one, and over this plate there are three possibilities of providing pairing. So this is a plate here. So this is providing possibility of three pairing. So this is defined as ternary link. Ternary link. Okay, or you can say that if there is a rod here, this rod considering three holes here. Holes when we are saying that is there are three possibility of pairing. So this will also defined as ternary link. The shape doesn't matter. The shape of the link doesn't matter. It's completely matter how many pairing that link is providing. So in this case, when this is providing 3 1, so it is defined as ternary. Similarly, if some body is providing, let some link is providing four possible pairing, providing four. So this is defined as quaternary. Quaternary. Okay, so this is providing four possible pairing, and you can also imagine like that. Let the rod in that case has four possible option for pairing. So this is also termed as quaternary. So according to this one, we can categorize the links. So we are categorizing the links based on the number of pairing they are providing. So when providing 2, it is defined as binary. When they are providing 3, it is defined as ternary. And when they are providing 4, then it is defined as quaternary, and it's going on. So again I'm saying the shape doesn't matter. It's only a matter that is how much pairing they are providing. Okay. So after this, we have to understand the concept of pairs, or we can write kinematic pair. So this is kinematic pair or simply pair. So how can we define the pairs? So we can define a kinematic pair or simply a pair is a joint of two links having relative motion between them. And you can understand like this. Let's suppose if I have a link like that, and it has a provision of providing pairing, and another link is here. Let's suppose this is 1, this is 2. So there are two links and they are connected by a pair or kinematic pair. So when we are using the word pair, means in that case it facilitates the link 1 and 2 having relative motion to each other, means it can easily move relative to this one. So it's providing relative motion between these two. This is not a permanent joint, and obviously this has different types of categories. So it's a now in this case this is basically a turning pair. So because they are the link 1 and link 2 can easily turn or revolve around this one. So we can define the types of kinematic pair. That first I'm defining based on the nature of contact. Nature of contact. So what is the sense of nature of contact? So based on nature of contact, we have two categories. First one is lower pair. Second is higher pair. So we have two categories, lower pair and higher pair. So let's first way how to understand the lower pair. So lower pair are those in which the contacting system is a surface area. Means what? Means let's suppose, let if we are talking about the simply hinge joints like in our doors. So in that doors there is outer surface is like that, or let's suppose there is a pin here. This is the pin, and this pin is connected to some link, and over this pin of the same inner surface area there is a wrap around this one. Means this is wrapping around this one. Oh, let I'm using this color here. This is the wrap around this one, and this is connected to some another link. Now in this case, this inside pin has surface area. There is the surface area of cylinder. There is the outer surface area of this pin, and this wrap has inner surface area. So in this case, the outer surface area of the pin and the inner surface area of this wrap is same. So in this case, the nature of contact in this case is the area wise. So when the nature of contact is according to area, in that case we are defining this is lower pair. So lower pair is completely based on area nature or area contact. So in this case, this is lower pair. So this is link that I'm saying this is 1, this is 2. In this case, link 1 and 2 can easily move around each other. Okay. So when the nature of contact will be the surface area, in that case the joint is defined as the lower pair. So there are so many pairs. For example, if we are defined that there is nut and screw. So in case of nut and screw or nut and bolt, the contact is surface area. That's why that pair is defined as the lower pair. Also we can define this type of turning pairs is also a lower pair. So what about higher pair? So in case of higher pair, the nature of contact is not area, it's either line or point. Okay, in case of higher pair, the nature of contact is either by line or by a point. So let's suppose a bearing. So this is the inner rim of the bearing, sorry, and this is the outer rim of the bearing, and here is the ball. Okay, the ball bearing. So this is our ball. So in this case there are number of balls. You can say that there is no need to be so many balls. Let showing only 3 here. So when in this case, let's suppose this is some solid surface, and when there is a sphere over this solid surface, then the sphere is connecting or contacting the solid surface only by a point here. Okay, this is only connected by a point here. So similarly in this case, this is the inner rim of the bearing and this is the outer rim of the bearing. In that case, here and here the bearing balls are only connected by the point over here. So this type of pair, obviously in this case, like if I'm saying this is inner rim is 1, outer rim is 2, this ball is 3. The pair between the link 1 and 3, I'm saying link because the inner rim and this ball has some relative motion and they are connected to each other, or they are forming a pairing. So this type of pairing is what? This type of pairing is defined or fall under the category of higher pair because they are forming, nature of contact is point based. Now similarly, if let's suppose there is some plane surface over here, and let over here above this one there is some cylinder. So when a cylinder is having rest over this plane surface, so in this case the cylinder is contacting this plane surface only by a line. So here the contact is line contact. In that case, in this case, the contact was point contact. So in this case, there is line contact. So if we have roller bearings, in that case there are no balls, there are only rollers here. In that case, they are forming the line contact. So that contact is also fall under the category of higher pair, because in that case the inner surface or inner rim and the roller are forming a contact by line. So this is also under the category of higher pair. Okay, there are so many other examples of the higher pair. Like if I'm saying in case of gearing, the contact is either by the line or by the point. So the gearing is also an example of the higher pairing. And so again, we can discuss this one. So if the contact nature is area wise, so that pairing is defined as the lower pair, and if the contact nature is line or point wise, then that is defined as higher pair. Now the second category we can define based on nature of relative motion. Nature of relative motion. We are defining kinematic pair. So first we define nature of contact, now we are defining nature of relative motion. So there are so many categories in this case. There are subcategories. So let first I'm defining sliding pair. Sliding pair. So in that case, the two links have a relative sliding motion to each other, or simply a sliding relative motion to each other. There is no other type of motion available in between that two links. So that pair which only providing the sliding motion between two links is defined as sliding pair. So we can understand this one by this one, that I'm saying this is a solid shaft. We discussed this before, and this solid shaft has some rectangle type hole here, and there is a rod passing through this one, and this is passing through by this one here, and this rod is going out this side. So in this case, there are two links that I'm saying, this is one and this is two. So there is a pair here, and in this pairing, the link 1 and 2 have only sliding motion with respect to each other. So this type of pairing is defined as sliding pair. So you can say this one, if this is a solid surface, and then this can only slide over here. This is defined as sliding pair. So you can see here this pairing in case of reciprocating engine, in which this piston and the cylinder have a sliding motion with respect to each other. So this piston and the cylinder is forming, this pair is defined as sliding pair. Okay, now second we can define turning pair. Turning pair. So obviously in this type of pairing, the relative motion between the two links is turning motion or revolving motion. Like again, if I'm saying that I'm taking a box here, we also discussed this case previously, and through the circular hole there's some shaft is passing through this one, and there are some collars over here, and it's providing a constraint so that the sliding motion of the shaft in the circular hole is restricted. So in this case, this shaft, let if I'm saying this is 1 and this is 2, so this shaft can only turn or revolve in this hole. So this type of pairing is defined as turning pair or revolving pair. You can see in case that if I'm saying here in this, also in reciprocating engine, here this frame and this crank are forming, this pairing is defined as turning pair because it can turn around here. Also the connection between the crank and the connecting rod is also turning pair, so they can turn easily around this one. So this type of pairing is defined as turning pair. So that's one more type I'm defining here, that I'm defining. The third one is here rolling pair. Just a minute. This is rolling pair. So now in this type, the pairing is providing rolling motion. So you can see here in this bearing. In this bearing, these bearing balls can translatory motion, also sorry, they have the translatory motion, and also it can rotate about in own axis. Okay, so this type of forming between the inner race and the ball and the outer race and the ball, this one also, this type of pairing is defined as rolling pairs. They can roll easily here. Like this one in this case, this if it has some rotational motion about its own axis, then it can also translate over here. So between this one and this two, this pairing will be the rolling pairing. There are so many other categories like screw pair. In that case, screw motion will happen. In case of screw motion, there is translatory motion, also rotating motion, and there is also spherical pairing system. In that case, there is motion is spherical, or you can provide three rotational motion about all three axes. So there are so many cases in these categories. Okay, so I think we discuss all these basics here, and in the next lecture we'll discuss about the types of joint, degree of freedom, number synthesis, and inversion of the mechanisms, and different things. So guys, if you like the lecture series, then please subscribe the channel and like the videos, comment your doubts, and till then please take care of yourself, and thanks for watching.